So till now I told like we will be mentioning the sensitive data in the property file. But if someone open the property file, they will get to know the password. So if they know the password as the test environment is available, so anyone can log in this environment, right? Because we had the credential. So whenever like you are mentioning the password, so we should always encrypt the password. Okay, so every time we should encrypt the password. So only we should mention the encrypted password in the particular property file. Okay, so the first thing is like we need to encrypt the password. And how we are going to encrypt the password? So generally we are going to do two operation. So one is of an, okay, coding and decoding. Okay, so or we can say encoder and decoder. With the help of encoder we are going to encrypt the password, and with the help of decoder we are going to decode the password. And to do the encoder and decoder operation in a Java, we are having the class called as an Base64, and with the help of the Base64 we can able to encrypt or decrypt the password. Now let me open the official web page of the password encryptor. Let me just to open Base64. Okay, so this is, if you just in the Google, if you search the Base64, this is the official link. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to encode the password. So just select the encode option, and whatever the password you are mentioning, right? So this is the mention. Just copy the password and paste over here and click on encode. If you click on the encode, okay, it will print in the encoded way, and I'm just copying the respective password over here. Okay, so this is encrypted password. So if it is of an encrypted password, if someone copy paste this password, right? Okay, so they can't log in the application, because before injecting in the send keys we need to decode this, and then we need to inject the key. And how we can encode or decode? It is very simple, like with the help of the Base64. Now I am adding one more utility class. So let the class name be the, okay, Base64. Okay, I'm just creating the class called as an Base64, in which I am trying to add one method. So let the method name be the decode64. So I'm using the access modifier public, and for sure we may use this Base64 in multiple places, this method in multiple places. So let me just make it as a static method, so that like we can avoid the object creation. And for sure, like whenever we do the encryption, right, so we will be returning the value. So I'm just adding the return type as a string. Okay, and then I'm just giving some method name. Let it be like kind of an decode 64. Okay, so now I have created the method, now in which like we are going to uh, create we are going to add a two line of code, and with the help of the code we are going to encrypt the password. Okay, another thing is like this Base64 is a actual class which is present in the Java. We should not provide in the same name. Let me just rename this decoder utility. Okay, let me just rename it. Let it be of a decoder utility. Okay, so now we have created the same. So we have created the main method, etc. Why there is an error? Okay, so as we have added the return statement, it is asking us to add the return statement that we can add in the later part. Now we have created the method, and as I told, in a Java they are offering the class called as an Base64. Okay, and inside the Base64 we are going to use the decoder class. And why we are using the decoder class? Because we need to decode the password. Okay, and in order to decode the password, we should use the method called as an get decoder. So I'm just giving some variable name. Let it be like kind of a decoder is equal to inside the base 64 I'm accessing the method called as an get decoder. Okay, so what I did, so I'm using the base64 class inside which we are having one more class called as a decoder. Okay, and with this help of the class we are accessing the methods which is present, which we call as a get decoder. Why we are using this get decoder method? Because we need to decode the password. Okay, and in order to decode the password, so I'm just calling this variable name called as an decoder, in which there is a method called as an decode, and inside which we need to inject the decoder data. So generally like we can get the data from the user, so let it be like kind of an string. Okay, encode value. Okay, because that is the encode value, right? I can pass the encode value, and we are converting to as an bytes. If I say get bytes, so it will be convert to the bytes. Okay, now this is done. Now we need to return it as a string so that we can inject in the send keys, right? So basically like we need to convert this as a string. So we are converting one data type to another data type. So whenever we are planning to convert one data type to the other type, so we always need to do the casting. So just I explained how we need to do the casting. So we are planning to convert to a string, right? So then I can say string of this entire line. Okay, and the string is not a data type as I told the class. So that's the reason in front of it I'm adding the keyword called as a new, and I need to return this string, and I can add a return statement. Okay, so now what it is going to do, so just we have had a two line of code. So we are using the decoder, and inside the decoder method we are getting the knowledge of the get decoder method, and we are assigning to this decoder variable, and inside which there is a method called as a decode. Okay, where we are injecting the encoded value and we are converting to the bytes, and post that we are converting the byte data to the string data, and we are returning the string over there. Okay, now this particular class will decode the password. Now let's say let me just navigate to the page object which we have created, and we have entered the username and password, right? And in this place, okay, so when I say password, okay, so the password is kind of an encoded one, and in order to decode it we should use the class called as an, okay, decoder utility, and in which I am calling the method called as an decoder 64. But this will accept the string as an input, but where the encoder value is present, it is present in the property file, right? So then I should use the property file, and from the property file with the help of the key, okay, we are injecting the corresponding value to the particular method. And what is the key? The key will be password. Okay, now let me inject the password over here. Okay, so now what happened when we run the code? Okay, so it will get the corresponding encoder value from the property file, and it will inject as an input to this decoder 64. It will process the encoded value, and it will return it as a string, and the particular string value will be injected in the send case. Okay, so in a project's rights, so always they will be mentioning the password in a encoded way. So now let me just try to run the same scenario, because we are repeatedly running the same scenario, right? If I run the same scenario, let's see whether it is injecting the password or not. So if it is able to inject the password, then it indicates like we are able to decode the password. Okay, so in a project side always the password will be encrypted, and we need to decode the password, and then we need to inject those in the respective send keys. So that is why I created a separate utility for the decoder, and with the help of it we are decoding the password and we are injecting over there. Okay, now let's see whether it is working or not. Okay, now the browser has invoked. Now it has entered the username. Let it enter. It's entering the username. It's entering the password. If you notice, it has injected the password. It is able to log in. So how it occurs? Because even though like we have mentioned the encrypted password, we have called this decoder utility. Okay, and this decoder, inside this decoder utility, we are passing the encoded value and we are decrypting it, and we are converting to as a string, and we are returning as a string. Okay, so that is why we are able to inject in the send keys. Okay, in a projects, always the sensitive data will be mentioned in a property file, and it won't be in the way of human readable form. So they will be generally, it will be in an encrypted way. Let me commit this code. Okay, I'm just committing the code to the sub branch called as an LMTI, and from the sub branch I need to add to the main branch. How I can add? By creating the pull request. So let me quickly click on this create pull request. Okay, then let me add one pull request, and let me merge to the main branch. Okay, now the code is added in the main branch.